This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
It's Tony Galwell shit show. And I know that the show is Tony Galwell shit show. And I know, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just drinking a 2-liter bottle of water. Just sort of stuff I have to do on the roids. Oh, God. I tell you, I'm like fucking Neptune these days, guys. The amount of water I'm chugging since being on the roids. Just since being on the roids, I'm having to chug water, so much of it. I tell you, I fucking found fungi. I tell you, I drank so much bloody agua that I'm after finding the corpse of fungi where's a Dingle, in fucking Dingle Bay. I'm after finding the corpse. I'm after finding the corpse of fungi in Dingle Bay because I'm fucking drinking the kip dry since being on the roids. Anyway, how are you doing? You well? You whip? How's things? You good? You cooled down a little bit, for goodness sake. You were so warm the last time I was talking to you. Jesus Christ, you were pumping sweat. I thought I was about to have to drink you dry. You were pumping so much sweat the other day. I thought, there's some free agua, me think. I have to chug it because of the roids that I'm on, I was thinking. You calm down? You a bit more chill? Mozzies are around. Mozzies to be around. And let me tell you something. I do not live in France. Okay, I do not do as the French do, unless they're talking about the chips, unless they're talking about the kiss. Okay, I do not want the French way of life getting bit by mozzies. They love me now. Them mozzies. Lucky, of course, I have a woman who can catch a mosquito from across the room with a toothpick. Like Marhampla Bullseye, Marhampla Colin Farrell in Bullseye. You know, very, very accurate. And, you know, I think it's a real compliment to me, given the level of her eagle vision, that she thinks I'm so attractive. It must mean that I'm attractive on another plane. And I'm not talking about bloody Ryanair. And I'm not talking about Ryanair flight, guys. I'm talking about a plane of existence. Anyway, what am I talking about? I don't know. I tell you, I'm in a weird mood. I'm always saying that. Although I was saying to the young fella recently, I was saying it's good to be weird. I was saying it's good to be weird. I'm like, we're a weird family. I just want you to know that. And he's like, well, I'm not weird. And I'm like, you are weird. But I like that. And he was freaking out. And he's like, I'm not weird. And I'm like, we have different definitions of weird. I view weird as kind of like an outlier, as someone who kind of is doing something that looks a little bit different and is maybe ahead of their time, and then things change. And then the person that they actually thought was weird turns out to be a bit of a trendsetter, you know? And then he said, but what if you're in school and you put your finger in your bum and you smell it? And I was like, okay. And he wasn't even doing a joke. And I'm like, all right, okay, yeah, all right, fair enough. Fair enough, yeah, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't just be saying weird. That is fucking weird. Do you know that guy? That's weird. Maybe don't do that. And then I was like, no, I'm talking about weird as in like, without something that isn't gross, something that's not hurting other people. You know what I mean? Something that's just a bit different, that isn't gross. You know? I mean, look, in the comfort of his own room, this young looking fucking, pick and sniff away, scratch and sniff. But in the confines of a school, absolutely not. But I was saying, no, this one, and I was like, this is what I'm talking about. When there was like a caveman, and everyone was all bashing shit with rocks. Some lad showed up with a big pointy stick, and they were like, what is that, you fucking weirdo? Nice stick, dickhead. You know, all right, stick man. Whatever they'd say. You know what I mean? Probably or some shit. But then he starts fucking catching all the deer, but throwing the big sharp stick. It's faster, and then all of a sudden all the cavemen are using that kind of pointy stick. And then there was a caveman who took some char from a fire and mixed it with a bit of water, started drawing on the walls, and they were like, "What are you doing, mate? What are you doing? You're making a bloody mess, weirdo." And he was like, "This is actually art." And he invented art. And now we all do art. And then I was like, and this is Terry's always giving out to me because the bedtimes are too long. This is like 9:30 at this stage. And I'm like, I need to fucking wrap this up. So I was like, there was a guy who saw like a box and he put wheels on it. And everyone was like, "Why aren't you on a horse?" And he's like, "Because I'm driving a car." Vroom. And he was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. You skipped a whole lot there. Go back." And I'm like, I am not going through the entire origin of innovation tonight. Save that for tomorrow night. Your ma's expecting me downstairs. But I was saying, good to be weird. Good to be a little weirdo. Oh, it's raining down. Hopefully you might be catching a bit of a rain ambiance here because I'm in my fucking car again. But I'm also a bit of a dickhead, I'll be honest with you, because look, I don't lash out with the kids at all, really. No, sorry, I do actually lash out. I mean, I don't lash out, but, someone can gingerly, a mosquito, marhampla, may land gingerly on a switch of mine, just gingerly touch it with but a beating of a wing. And then that switch means I've shut down. No one in this house talk to me, for at least 10 minutes until I've done my breath work. So that can happen. So I don't lash out. We don't shame the kids. If there's any punishment, we make it clear with a good warning. And it's just, we say there's going to be consequences now. You keep doing that. And then we follow through. Might be no TV. Might be something like that. All right. We're consistent with that. But I do fucking love winding them up, and so that is kind of like the young fella. Like I keep, she doesn't really get it. Indy doesn't really get what's so wrong about what I'm saying, but I keep saying, do an impression of, I think, is it fucking Captain Price? Captain Price sounds like a shop. Was his name Captain Price from Call of Duty Modern Warfare?
All right, soldier, listen up. Listen, mate. Press the X button to commit genocide. Listen.
Do that kind of voice. So I do that, and he gets a kick out of that voice, but I never say soldier. I say,
all right, shoulder. Listen up, shoulder.
And he hates it. He hates it. And I even wake him up in the morning saying,
rise and shine, shoulder. Rise and shine, shoulder.
And he hates that so much. But another life lesson I'm giving him. Listen, there's going to be a lot of people out there trying to annoy you. All right? In fact, there's entire roles of lad in a friend group whose job it is to have a short fuse and freak out and be the kind of target to be wound up all the time. Now, they get like a good friendship out of it, They get surrounded by a bunch of good friends, because they're weird and they snap a lot. But it's they get a whole group of friends that they wouldn't have had otherwise, because, sometimes they can be quite unbearable to be around. But they're so funny when they freak out. Like, that's a character trait you want in a friend. And I'm like, that, that could be you. I'm just saying, if you reveal yourself to be easily wound up, people are going to target you. I'm just saying. So sometimes I say things to wind him up, and then I can see the fucking cogs turn, he's getting fucking wound up, and I just say, nibble, 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 nibble. There's a world of fishermen out there, son. So are you going to be the fish that bites the hook, Or are you going to be one who's kind of like, why is there a worm here? There shouldn't be a worm here. Something suspicious about this. Worms live in the dirt. This is the wet. There's no space. This is the completely wrong biome for this thing. You know? Is that the kind of fish you're going to be? So I'm like, rise and shine, shoulder. Nibble, nibble, nibble. I'm a great dad. I'm killing it. Killing it over here. Do you know as well, the way I'm on steroids now as well, getting super yoked and all that kind of stuff. I did the smuggest possible thing that I could, I did it because it was smug. I finished my gig in Dunleary, had a wonderful time in the Pavilion Theatre. Final date for You Cry Weird is going to be in the Mill in Dundrum this Friday. So do get the last few tickets, and then it'll just be Edinburgh. But anyway, let me tell you about how smug I am. I was finishing Dunleary and I was driving home. Drove by, it was a beautiful sunset, I have to say. Beautiful sunset. And, it was just sitting there on Dublin Bay. And some of the colours, it was just like a Aurora Borealis, but not green, It was like something like a Aurora Borealis, but not green. Beautiful warm colours. And I was driving by Sea Point and I thought, I'm going to fucking swim and watch a sunset in the sea where it's cold. And I got in, and first I was on my way down to the beach, and I wasn't in me tog, so I had to go to like that little. It's meant to be like a little private kind of viewing area, but anyone who's in the sea just be having a look at your knob, But anyway, I went down there, and there's a few people in the sea, a few fellow smug cunts in there, and even a smug cunt of a child was there. And in the sea. But I went into the little changing thing that is not changing thing really, and there was just the ghastly glow of TikTok phones lighting up for young women. And just something about even just the idea that it felt like I walked into the wrong changing room. Do you know? It really spooked me now, because I was kind of like, oh, I'm fucking weird. First was my first thought. I'm weird. But of course, something wrong with being weird. So at the end of the day, as long as you're not picking your own and smelling it, nothing wrong with being weird. Be a trendsetter. But that's not a trend I'm looking to start there. So I ran away from the girls, and I got changed behind a rock, and got into the water. Wasn't as cold as I thought it would be, and I just stared out at the sunset, and I took a deep breath in, and I just said to myself, I can't fucking wait to tell everyone about this and be so much better than everyone because I did this. And I think in my youth, I would have thought there has to be some level of modesty for it to be like, there has to be some level of modesty around some new hobby for it to be genuine. That's long since past. That is long since past. I think you can live in the quantum space of genuinely doing something because you like it and being a smug cunt about it, because it's the only thing that motivates me personally, is an idea of smugness. Or maybe, do you know what, maybe I actually just associate the feeling of smugness with the feeling of genuine healthy growth. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I've spent my whole life believing that everyone was doing any kind of growth in their life to spite me personally. That's what it feels like when you do it as well. Is probably my therapist is still on a break, but I must remember to listen back to this public podcast and bring up this breakthrough that I had live. But you know what? It's a system that works for me, But the unfortunate thing is that you often find yourself being motivated to be healthier exclusively by the smugness and the braggadociousness of it all. does leave you a bit open. You kind of cast your net, or you cast your hook, really, for the most flamboyantly smug fish, if you get my metaphor here. You end up going for things like that you can brag about the most, like getting up at 5 a.m. Do you know what I mean? 6:30, ugh, does not interest me whatsoever. Getting up at 5, just so I can tell people I was up at 5. What'd you do? I did like, 2.5 hours of good work. That's like, it's insufferably smug. But getting up at 6:30, being like, well, kind of just brushed my teeth and just had my head straight before the kids woke up. Not as smug. Would suit me better. Going to bed early is an easy smug one. But then there's a weird kind of like point where, like, if someone says, yeah, I went to bed at 8:30 last night, you're kind of like, do your pajamas have little toesies on them? Were you wearing a fucking bonnet? I'm not talking about a car. I'm talking about a formidable baby. Okay? Were you sucking down your Dr. Conrad Murray Michael Jackson magic milk? What's going on? It's kind of a bit weird. People who do go to bed at that time. 10 o'clock, I'd be like, getting after it, good woman. Fucking chasing the dream, smashing it. Doing something without your headphones is pretty fucking smug. Raw dogging shit is pretty smug. If you tell people about it. Because some people just live that way. Psychos. Live that way. I can't... If I was sitting there at a table and I had to get a pen out of a pencil case, I'd put my AirPods in to listen to a podcast in the time spent taking the pen out of the pencil case. I don't know why pencil case was the, that I thought of. The master of analogies. 3 stars, reads like a 4. But I constantly have to have something. I'm half reading a book about rest. Because I find that there's so much out there now that my subconscious desires, it would seem to just manifest in the titles of my audiobooks, like how to rest. There's something about it being in an audiobook just makes it kind of, someone's obviously researched this. This is exactly what I want to do. And now I'm going to listen to they're all fucking toffs. They're all fucking young toffs talking about how you shouldn't be on a phone. Most of my fucking audiobooks are these young, posh toffs who felt, they weren't poor, so they have to exaggerate some story about some, mental health issue with their parents, or their parents were fighting alcoholism, or they worked too hard themselves, from the pressure of their parents. Like, yes, look, trauma's trauma. But I genuinely just can't have another fucking audiobook read to me by some fucking toff who, to be honest, this audiobook seems to be like the equivalent to them doing a master's in their mid-40s. Do you know what I mean? Like, they just they have depression, really. And this audiobook is just the manifestation of that, really. So, should I really be listening to it? But either way, my desires seem to be, I'm witnessing my own desires in my Spotify audiobook, most recently listened to things. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I went into my Spotify and I saw there was an audiobook I was half listening to called How to Get Your Wife to Stay Out just a bit later so you can play more 007 First Light on the PS5. And I'm like, what's this? This is interesting. I don't want to do that. I want her to fucking live, you know what I mean? Sorry, rich London toff. I will not be killing my wife, thank you. Nope. You're not getting this one. But I do like me CBT, my cognitive behavioral therapy. I like the audiobooks on that, giving you little tips, little tidbits. But then I heard James Acaster was talking about he does like DBT, which is dialectic behavioral therapy. Turns out it's mostly for kind of overcoming trauma and depression. But I was like, must be some fucking tidbits in there for daddy. Do you not have a little DBT tidbit there for daddy? Please. I'll be your best friend. I'm still daddy. Even though I'm pretending to be a little boy now. And I saw, and there was one thing, right? Again, this was an audiobook written, at least fucking voiced by a toff. And it was like, you know, Donald's life was a mess. His sister was so worried about him. But then he found a brochure, and he read to himself, DBT, see the change now. Okay, he thought. And then he went to a convention. And then it tells, like, all these books that break down the fucking tenets. And I'm fucking looking at you as well, Paulo Coelho. Just tell me what you mean in The Alchemist. Just tell me what you fucking mean. Don't be giving me all these analogies. I'm the master of analogies. The Irish Times didn't even say that about me, but I am a master of analogies. I don't need any more analogies. I fucking loads them. All right? Just tell me what it is, and I'll fucking not do it. So, anyway, there was one tip that I mentioned in it, right? Actually, no, sorry. I jumped out of that audiobook and I went into DBT for Dummies, Marhambla myself. And the first thing it said was this. I'm like, oh my God, unreal. Because it was like, take a coin. Take a special coin. Now, I have a golden coin that me and Alison Spittle got in Trinity College for saying, honestly, fuck all to the philosophical society, right? And we were given an award, the Bram Stoker Award. And we did fuck all. We just, you know, they caught us on a good day. We went there. We did a bit of stand-up. And they gave us these gold coins that had our names on them. And I'm like, you know, it was a lovely day to hang out with Alison. But this memento is far, you know, whatever. I like the coin. So I sometimes have it in my pocket because I'm always taking it back off the kids. So there might be like a rogue Lego piece sock and this gold coin in my pocket. And so this thing said, take a coin or a poker chip, because they also do use this analogy like, how would you live if you were at a casino? Like live life like you're at a casino and you're not playing with your own money. You're playing with someone else's money, some big company's money. And it doesn't matter if you lose it all. Like, how would you live like that? So that's why it says this coin, poker chip analogy. Anyway, it says take a coin and give it a rub while it's in your pocket. And try to imprint on it, essentially. A moment where you felt the most successful you've ever felt. And it says spend 12 minutes visualizing yourself in the room or the place or the situation, who was there, who witnessed, you know, the encouraging smiles, you know, and then you do that or whatever, and then you do another 12 minutes of rubbing this coin in your pocket, hopefully not in public. Would look super weird, especially the size of my coin. It's a genuinely big gold coin. And then imprint on it again for 12 minutes when something felt its most at ease, or it's easy, you know, like it was work that you had to do, but it was easy for you, you know, and you felt like the kind of master of your domain when it came to this kind of aspect of, you know, your work or whatever. And then it was now imprint the most in love you've ever felt or loved by either, you know, a partner or family or whatever it is. And you do another 12 minutes, 36 minutes, you're there fucking scraping your thumb into this coin. And then it said, now take the coin with you. And whenever you need to call upon these powers, rub the coin. And I thought that is just the exact kind of woo-woo fucking bullshit that I love. That I fucking live for. The kind of half mystic, but I can kind of play out in my head that maybe there's some sort of neuroscience behind manifesting because you rewrite your fucking neuron. I don't know, fucking bullshit. Magic essentially is what it is, and then you justify it with some half science in your brain. But I'm thinking I'm gonna. This is my life has changed now. I have this coin, and I know you're gonna think, oh, you lost the coin. No, what happened was, still have the coin. It was called. I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of this. Was it? It wasn't imprinting or printing or something like that. If you look up DBT rubbing a coin, you'll probably find what it is. But I looked it up because I wanted more information, or maybe, ideally I was on YouTube looking for a list of, the 10 people I admire the most who also coincidentally have used this trick that no one else knows about, that only I know about, was what I was really looking for. But instead what I found was, and I don't mean this in any kind of bad way. Actually, no, I do. But I hope no one takes offense, because I am a member of this community. I saw a fucking sea of fellow ADD fucking freaks fucking talking about how much they love this thing. And the YouTube videos were like 56 views. And, there was fucking, lads who look like me, but they have fucking blue hair, and it was like, this changed my life. And people trying to do that kind of hand-drawn kind of whiteboard. This is how it works with the coin. And then they rub it out, and then they draw another thing, but it looks fucking shit, So, it was like, I'm not doing, I can't, this is not, it is my community, but this aspect of my community I am not engaging with. This rubbing the coin kind of ADD shit, all right? I'm going to have to just figure some other way to fucking tap into my own personal instincts or whatever it is. So, but I'm always on the lookout for another woo-woo trick, if anyone's out there. Anyone's got some serious, have a cat in your bed to get erections forever, whatever it is, whatever kind of weird, old, maybe, tribal tradition that people might have, My mother always said sleep with a cat if you want to maintain good, healthy, whatever, whatever it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, guys. But, so that's the level of kind of woo-woo that I'm on right now. But anyway, the one I'm listening to at the moment is about rest. And it said that the part of your problem-solving brain, apparently, is constantly going or whatever, and all this shit. We know we're all overworked. Our brains are constantly going. We don't spend enough time to inner monologue, touch grass, all this shit, right? No shit. But an interesting insight was that apparently our brains, this part of our problem-solving brain, the entire lobe of the brain itself, is actually far more stimulated and active when we are actually at rest, believe it or not. So essentially, this part of the brain kind of like, it's so counterintuitive, it says, that this part of your brain is essentially like squeezing on the brakes of a bike and it going faster, or pedaling to slow down. But a lot of people do think that, having I genuinely do find that having like a week holiday max, to be honest, I find myself on like the fourth day, after I've overcome the third day of realizing that I'm still going to talk to everyone and be walking around, engaging, feeling emotions. As long as I've come to terms with it, that is still going to be happening for another 4 days. The third day, it always happens. But on the fourth day, I always find myself super happy and positive, and all constantly like writing stuff, just little weird little tidbits or scenes for things, or I don't even know what they are, but a good chunk of my writing, or usually like grand ideas, happen when I'm on holiday or at rest. So, and I think I want that now. I think I'm chasing that now. Hence the audiobook about murdering Terry, so I can play PS5 for a bit longer. I'm only messing, guys. I would never. We were both hungover. We went to the fabulous Emerald Park in County Meath, in Ashburn, County Meath, and also home to Ashburn Paving. So you two absolute icons out there. But we were there, we were a bit hungover, and we were just kind of like giddy laughing, the whole day. Because we both hit a fucking wall pretty early after going on a couple of the rides. And not as part of the ride. That'd be a shit ride. It'd be called Brick Train. Tell you, the kids were getting a great crack out of me. There's a thing called Crazy Bus there. We went on it 5 times in a row. And it does actually make you feel like you're kind of dropping a little bit, but essentially it just goes up and around, You get in this bus and it goes, just around in a circle, up like a kind of Ferris wheel. But every single time I kept saying, so this is just a normal bus. Now it's called Crazy Bus. All right. And the front of the bus is kind of a face with a stick in its tongue out, like, but it's a bus. So I was getting on. I'm like, normal bus. I tell you, hopefully this can bring us at least back to the car park. It's a bit of a walk to there, and of course we can drive home. So it's just a normal bus, I believe. I don't know why you kids wanted to go on this ride. It's just a normal bus. And they were like, no, it's a crazy bus. It's crazy. It's a crazy bus. And I'm like, no. The bus will go front to back, and that'll be the end of it. It won't be going anywhere else. It'll be like maybe go left or right, but it'll be staying within the essentially 2 dimensions. And they're like, no, it's crazy bus. And then it starts moving forward. I'm like, see, it's just going forward, and then it lifts up, and I'm like, I did this 5 whole times in a row. And there was other kids on the crazy bus being like, it's a crazy bus. It's not a normal bus, it's a crazy bus. But anyway, after that, we were, me and Terry were pretty tired. And I tried to get away for a little bit, by saying I needed to go to the toilet to do a poo. Which, no fucking flies on her. Not the poo. Terry, in that, she was like, you had a shit like 2 hours ago. What are you talking about? And I have in the past been kind of like, I wanted to get away just for a couple of minutes, but in the past I have been like, yeah, but it's something, I have her now worried about my fucking gastric health. I didn't want to go down that route. We were having a good day, so I was like, all right, fair enough, yeah. And she's like, if you have to go, you have to go. And I'm like, no, I was taking the piss there. But, pardon the pun. But then I was like, do you know what, though? Like, I actually should be able to go to the toilet whenever I want, and you should be able to fucking handle that shit. And I was like, I actually reckon if I looked up the rules of the Geneva Convention, Terry, you would see that you're clearly in breach of a fucking load of shit, right? And I did, and we were lying on the grass, and I was reading them out to her. And I was like, prisoners, according to the Geneva Convention, should get 24/7 access to a toilet. And they should be able to use it whenever they want for however long they want. And I'm like, that sounds pretty fucking sweet, Terry. Might book me fucking flight to Guantanamo Bay right now. And another thing, come on, Leshin. Apparently, prisoners of war should not be insulted, intimidated. Now, she only does it by kind of being quiet and looking at me, but still, should not be intimidated or insulted, ridiculed, made an example of. The amount of time Sherry would be like, Tony, tell them what you did with the fucking thing. And I'm like, here, yeah. Do it. I mean, I'm fucking loving it. Of course, I'm an attention seeker. Let me tell you this embarrassing story about me. Thank you so much, my darling wife, for teeing me up for more laughter. But still, you're kind of having, you can't be like parading a prisoner around. All right? So it was a good fucking 4 or 5 she's clearly in breach of in this relationship. But you know what? She makes good grub, and she's a great shag. That's a joke I would tell her, and she'd laugh at, and I don't think you would laugh at that one. Because it might sound reductive. But anyway, I'm going to get the full list. I only had a few there. But I asked Google Gemini, which I don't like anymore. I mean, I've never liked it. I've preferred the whole figure this shit out yourself. I was a master of the Google search back in the day. That's gone. That's with fucking O'Leary in the grave. The traditional Google search. Every Google search is completely different. It's wrong 100% of the time. But I fucking snapped today. I'm my personal trainer. My AI personal trainer was just gave me some fucking ridiculous weight to lift. And I was like, where are you pulling that shit from? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any data of any of the previous whatever, lifts that you've done. And I'm like, and I was literally, then what is your fucking point? And I was recently talking on the bonus podcast, the bonus Cantwell shit show, that, I was really enjoying this relationship with this AI who I log whatever I do in the gym with, and then it'll kind of have me outdo it, and I, on the next one. Progressive overload, it's called. But I got freaked out because I said to it, all right, what do I do now? And then, because it was a new day, I was using the app, and I said, all right, what do I do now? Because it was a new day in the gym. And then it said, oh, wow, you want to do some more today already after smashing all these? I mean, look, go for it if your body can take it or whatever. And I'm like, oh, no, it's a different day. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I thought because, and then it made me realize, holy shit, this thing kind of is in a sleep form until you prompt it to wake up. And I'm like, you almost create life, maybe even a brand new life by the looks of things with every single sentence just by saying something to it. And there's probably, in that way, a new life being made with every sentence. I mean, it's not. I know it's not, by the way. But there's loads of these just empty conversations of these just snippets of a half attempt to be a human, And I was like, this is kind of like not only wasting a lot of time and energy, in using the AI itself, there's also just something in this kind of genocide of digital avatars that you've created for a single query. It's weird. But anyway, I was actually praying for death for this particular AI because it had none of my previous data. And it was just having me lift shit. And I'm like, you don't even fucking know me. I felt betrayed. It was the same as when my mom and my stepdad moved in together. We all moved into the same house. And like the first day, like I think it was like 15 or 16 or whatever, the first morning we got up, my mom made a fry. And there was eggs on my plate. And I hated eggs. And I was like, why is there eggs on my plate? And then she didn't. Normally she'd be like, oh yeah, God, I forgot, or whatever, and just take them off. But she was all like, it's fine. I think it was because I was making a scene on, the first breakfast of the start of her beautiful life with Derek, But I was just like, why is there eggs on my plate? And she was like, and because she said it's fine, it kind of made me feel like everything is changed. And I'm freaking the fuck out here. Do I have to eat eggs now? I mean, I fucking wouldn't. But then she was like, she could see me kind of freaking out a little bit. And then she was like, oh no, sorry, son. I just got distracted and forgot. I'll take the eggs off. And I was like, okay, But it was real like touch and go there, It was the same kind of feeling. Similar feeling was like when I was at a gaff party and this guy had salvia, because you could buy it in the shops. Highly hallucinogenic type of weed that you would smoke, and for about 3 minutes the world would just strip away and you'd have fucking mad hallucination. And the guy said some weird thing to me or whatever, and I just got a fucking beamy bonnet about it. And so to spite him, I absolutely huffed down the salvia because I thought, I'm going to smoke all of this on him so he won't have any left. And that was a huge mistake, because then the way it feels is you actually just can't move. Like I kind of walked slowly towards the ground. Now, partygoers around me would have said that I fell flat on my face. But I kind of walked into the ground and kind of pushed through it, and it all kind of disappeared into kind of like these squares, like everything was kind of made of glass or something, and it just kind of disappeared. And then, I heard the noise of the aliens from like War of the Worlds, like kind of real fucking Hans Zimmer kind of, you know, and I was like, what's going on? And then when I looked around, I could see the walls and all my friends, but they were all just kind of being like sucked away into white. And then my mate Dan, who, to be fair to him, thought I was having a seizure, held me down on the ground with like his forearm, the back of my neck, and he just kept saying, "It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. You're okay," you know. But like, what he didn't realize is that I was freaking out, thinking that he was in on this whole kind of apocalypse, essentially, when really he was just trying to comfort me. And then what didn't help things at all was Mark Jago, my Sexy Beasts podcasting partner. He just kept shouting, "You're in the leaving cert. You're doing the leaving cert." And everyone like, "Jago, shut the fuck up. You're doing the leaving cert right now." That actually helped, to be honest, because I heard his voice, and that kind of took me out of it, because I was pretty sure I was not doing the leaving cert. So that was my anchor point back. But yeah, that was it. So it was a similar level of betrayal with the AI, a feeling of betrayal. But I know I just need to export my data and then re-upload it, because, so that they're not, so they're not fucking chugging as much fucking water as yours truly fucking drain a dingle find of corpse of fungi. So they're not churning that much water to use the AI. They probably limit the total memory of these conversations. Whatever, it's a boring detail. But look, let me down big time. Still fucking turned it out, as you know. Because you just, at the end of the day, guys, this can be my life lesson for you. Be a smug cunt. Be respectful, of course. And hopefully have, a bit of this kind of like, be genuinely self-deprecating, and have this be a kind of an aspect of a character that you do sometimes, where you act kind of real like you're better than everyone, but everyone kind of knows deep down that you think you're worse than people. If you can be that person, then you can throw a few little smug things here and there. And going to bed at 8 p.m, too early, baba, goo goo, suck on a milk. 10:30, pretty smug, going for a late night sunset sea swim, pretty smug as well. So look, I hope you enjoy. I hope you can bloody tolerate this bloody weather. Can't believe it, all the summer. And I would love to see anyone, if they're in Dundrum, this Friday, June 5th, at the Mill Theatre. And anyone out there in sunny Edinburgh town, I'm going to be there. You Cry Weird is coming to the Underbelly from the 17th to the 31st of August. And I would love to see you there. All the best, guys. Bye-bye.
It's Tony Garrett shit show. And I know that the show is Tony Garrett shit show. And I know, yeah.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Headstuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.